According to CNN, movie star couple Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are launching a new campaign Monday, April 18th against child sex slavery. A host of other stars, including Justin Timberlake and Sean Penn, signed up for the campaign titled Real Men Don't Buy Girls, aimed at stopping people buying underage girls for sex. The Demi and Ashton Foundation, or DNA Foundation, hopes to raise awareness of the global problem that is also occurs in small towns and big cities across the United States. Kutcher stated, quote, "We want to create a cultural shift in the way men and women view young people selling themselves for sex." The Real Men campaign highlights the brutal reality of children forced into prostitution and gives advice on how people can help, even without leaving their home. If you are interested in becoming involved with putting an end to sex trafficking, visit the Human Trafficking Petition page on change.org.
President Obama announced yesterday his plan to reduce the federal deficit by $4 trillion over the next 12 years. According to CNN, this plan calls for the repeal of the Bush tax cuts for families making more than $250,000 annually, a move generally supported by Democrats and opposed by the Republican Party. In a speech at George Washington University, President Obama had this to say about the federal debt, quote, "Doing nothing on the deficit is just not an option. Our debt has grown so large that we could do real damage to the economy if we don't begin a process now to get our fiscal house in order," end quote. House Speaker John Bonner responded to the president's plan by saying, quote, "Any plan that starts with job-destroying tax hikes is a non-starter. Republicans are fighting for meaningful spending cuts and fighting against any tax increases on American small business," end quote. Rather than raise taxes, the Republican Party currently supports a plan to lower the deficit primarily through an overhaul of both Medicare and Medicaid.
Bonds was convicted Wednesday on one count of obstruction of justice, but a mistrial was declared on 3 counts of perjury after jurors reported they could not reach an agreement. Jurors told CNN that they found Bonds to be evasive in his testimony to federal grand jury investigating illegal steroids used by pro athletes. But they say that it was not proven that he lied when he said he had not knowingly used the steroids. The judge declared a mistrial on the 3 perjury counts after the jury said they were deadlocked on their charges in their 4th day of deliberations. Lawyers will be back in court on May 20th to debate whether Bonds should be retried on perjury counts. A date for sentencing on the obstruction of justice conviction will also be set on that day. The judge says that Bonds' testimony in December of 2003 was part of the Balco investigation that targeted employees of a California drug testing laboratory and Bonds' personal trainer, Greg Anderson. A juror who identified herself as Jessica would not give her last name and told reporters they agreed unanimously that Bonds would constantly avoid fully answering any question.
Likely all heard stories of how much easier we have it than past generations. It turns out when it comes to high school, that isn't always the case. According to CNN, the high school transcript study looked at the curriculum choices for the 2009 graduating class at more than 700 public and private schools representing over 37,000 students from across the U.S. And when compared to students in 1990, high school students in 2009 were in school an average of 420 more hours over the course of 4 years. Recent students were also more likely to take rigorous courses, and in 1990, 60% of students were completing less than the standard curriculum requirements. That number dropped to only 25% in 2009. The high school transcript study is done every 4 or 5 years by the National Assessment of Education Progress to track trends in education.